era TT Radio, Nett Radio.
The future of radio is here. New era TT Radio, Nett Radio. Let's go.
I remember when you children were weak and hungry. I took you to my bosom, fed you my oil. And even when you took and wasted and left me dry, there was always love for you in my soil. Even when my older children, they tried to shame me, setting no rules for the younger ones, bringing such grief and sadness into my household. In the end, they're still my daughters and sons. I will always be there for you, no matter what you do, whatever joy or pain that you are going through. I will always.
Well, we intend to be here for you always also. And of course, this is where we deal with self. We go on the inside.
Will be always there for you.
And courtesy of the Foundation for Human Development. Right, this is where we talk with Steve Williams on a Wednesday. It's always a pleasure to have Steve on the other side. Steve, good morning to you.
And a pleasant morning to you. I'm doing quite fine this morning. Thank God.
Well, I'm happy to know that.
I'm like everybody else, doing my own personal analysis of the budget and looking to see where I'm gaining or where I'm losing.
You have to do that self-awareness analysis, see where you are positioned and see what is working for you.
That's right. I was doing something with somebody, my son-in-law. He says, he has an app, and all I have to do is give him my age and so on, and the budget will analyze for me. So it will bring up all the issues that are connected to me. So that is what I will be able to read. I said, boy, the technology is something like these days. It reaches, at a point where, everything is just there. It's available,
Yeah. Even things that you weren't thinking about, it brings it forward.
Exactly, So it's all now linked and you have information. Everybody has information.
And that
is what you do with it.
And that is it. Is what you do with all this information that is outside there. Well, we have some information we're going to share with people this morning.
Yes. And today we're going to, it's a little bit more than information. It's a sort of reflection and insight into the theme, a favorite theme of mine is called forgiveness. Because everybody that I come in touch with, and especially now, even at my age, when you many times when you made serious mistakes in your life, you've done wrong things and you've done good things as well. And for everybody, the opportunity comes to get a point of forgiveness. For a lot of people, they don't realize the connection between their ill health and the absence of forgiveness in their lives. They can't see it. They hold on to things that may have happened when they were 20 or 40, or sometimes people hold on to things from childhood, things that they thought that their parents should have done for them and didn't do for them. Things that they thought, my father wasn't there for me, they would say, that man was never there, he was always this, he was always that, and so on. And there's an attitude of disgust, an attitude sometimes of hate, of how you see it, and you hold on to that for a long time in your life. And you walk with it, and you don't realize to some extent the physical effect these things have on you, affecting a lot of certain organs in your body when you carry this kind of energy that doesn't release itself. So I want to talk about the levels of forgiveness this morning, and I have to thank Mr. Gabriel Gonzalez, who a spiritual writer who writes a lot about this, and for his kind of insight into it. He said there are different levels at which we have a tendency to forgive, and each level contributes in a way to our own healing. We have to remember that the bottom line of life, when we come down to anything, is healing. And there's no perfect human being on this earth. Nobody has arrived, whether you are 10, 20, 40, 50, you don't get there without hurting somebody. You don't get there without somebody hurting you. Now, some of us have been hurt really badly, especially some of us in relationships. If you're in a relationship and somebody has been unfaithful, you hurt for a long time. If you had a relationship with a good parent and they have lied to you for many, many years, and you grow up believing in something, and when you discover the truth, it floors you. You don't know how to recover from that. You discover that is not your father, or that is not your mother, and all kinds of issues that people have to live and go through. And painful, very painful. So there are different levels, and the first level that he talks about is intellectual forgiveness. Now he says, this is where you understand the need to forgive, and you mentally acknowledge that you're holding on to the resentment. Because you see, off and on you can say, man, I sorry about that, a quick little sorry, I sorry about that, and maybe you're genuinely sorry about it, and it's flippant and it's done with, But sometimes there's resentment that we're holding on. Resentment is a little more than anger. Resentment grows. It's like a virus and a fungus inside you. It just multiplies itself over and over again. So when you say something like, well, I forgive you. I was reading something where I think it's Charlie Cook or whoever it is, and the wife said immediately, I forgive those of the people who hurt my husband, who killed my husband, or whatever the story might be. Sometimes we rush to something called premature forgiveness, and it may be premature, and I want to deal with that separate next week, but it's about intellectual. You say it from the head, and sometimes you say, I move on, you convince yourself you move on, but with intellectual forgiveness, which is a head forgiveness, a sorry boss man, a sorry about that, and you're done with that in a sense. Or I'm sorry, and you tell your father, I'm sorry, or he says to you, I'm sorry that I did that to you when you were growing up, and so on. It comes from the head, it doesn't come from the heart to some extent. You feel the pain and the anger that comes with it isn't really dealt with. It remains there. And so it is kind of like a word of mouth forgiveness. But the real issue that came along with it wasn't dealt with. And it remains with you. It is hurt. It is hurt. For example, this lady who lost her son to murder, and she said, Steve, he really did kill a lot of people, and he was a gang member, and I feel hurt, very hurt that they killed him. They had no right to kill him, but I at the same time I feel sorry for the people that he hurt. What a confusion in life, eh? What a confusion for a mother. What a difficult confusion for a mother. She's grieving over her son's death, but she's also grieving over the death of many others in a different way, and in an intellectual way that he has put into jeopardy, that he's killed. The families that he has hurt over and over again with his absolute bad behavior. So forgiveness is something that, when it's intellectual, It's done, it's word of mouth, it's straightforward, it's meant to ease, and there are benefits of that, and I'll talk about that in a little while. Then we have the deeper part, which is called emotional forgiveness, a deeper level. Okay. Now, when you go down there, you're forced to confront your own feelings and your vulnerabilities. It means that you're allowing yourself to feel hurt, to feel the anger, the resentment, the sadness associated with the experience. And then you choose to let go of those emotions. Now, this is a painful process, but it is necessary for true healing to occur. So if we don't know how to get to that point, when we've been hurt, when somebody really hurt us in a difficult way, we have to sort of learn how to forgive. And it's not an easy thing. From the hard part is not easy at all. It's the most difficult part to actually confront your emotions. Somebody done you something. I mean, let's face it, somebody has hurt your family. Somebody has home invasion or something. Somebody has done you something so badly. And I want to talk about the hard things about rape and all that, any destruction of the self and destruction of the body and so on, and then destruction of the mind and so on. Hurtful things people do to each other. And you hurt. You are grieving, you hurt, you're sad, you're resentful. So when you can reach out of that pain and forgive someone for doing that to you, then you have reached a very deep stage, a deep level of emotional forgiveness. But you have to reach out of that, It's not just in the head. Out of that, you have to feel it. You have to cry. You have to bawl. You have to beat a pillow. You have to pump up a tree. You have to do something to get it out of your system, to be able to say to the person who offended you. I remember, there's so many examples of these, This lady who was very hurt by her father, extremely hurt. But she did it well, That forgiveness came very nicely. Very hurt by the father. Father left and took another family, had another woman and so on. And she remained with her mother and they had great financial problems and all of that, normal story and so on. And she, as a child, grew up, with this kind of antagonism and resentfulness towards the father and so on. And then, of course, she got big, got her employment and so on, and the normal stories that the father gets sick. That's it, the life, the way life goes. And she was the one daughter who had now to take care of him, And she did what she could have done, and then she couldn't, it's like, it couldn't stomach it anymore. There's the dual feelings in her. One, I need to help him. They say he's my father. And two, I can't stand the last bone in his body for what he did to me and my mother. And then she wrote him a letter that got it out of her system. And she started off by saying, dear father, because she couldn't call him daddy, dear father. And she outlined at the very beginning the few things that he did for her when she became an adult. I remember when I was doing so and so, you gave me some money to start off so and so, and I want to thank you for that. And then she laced into the pain that she felt as a child. She said, but I want to let you know that when you did this to us, when you left us starving, when we had no food for days, when you never turned around, when I called you and I didn't have books for school, and you never even bothered to give it to me. You never looked at me. She told him in writing the kinds of feelings that she had. And she gave him the letter. And she said, I'm giving you this because this is to help me, not you. You can do what you want with it. But once I have gotten this out of my system, I am now free to help you, to take care of you. And she did a job. in taking care of him. But she had to go through the pain. She had to get out of her system first. And that is what the emotional forgiveness is all about. It is about facing that inner pain, facing that resentment that you've been harboring because you've been hurting. Now, many of us really never get there because it's too painful. And remember, forgiveness is not a one-time act. Sometimes we think we need to get there, do the forgiveness part, and then move on. It's not a one-time act. It is an act of constant forgiving. You know, you have to feel it today. You say sorry tomorrow, and then the whole pain resurfaces somehow because somebody does something to you, and it kind of bounces back inside of you, and it feels just as tugging and just as difficult, and you have to let go of that again. So emotional forgiveness is a constant letting go. Unlike intellectual, it's a one-time act. It's a constant letting go of the pain and resentment that you feel. And then the other level of forgiveness is spiritual forgiveness. And I want to talk about this in the context, not of so much of biblical, but in the context of how we can allow, and we need to allow for those who believe in a higher being, the grace of a higher being to guide us through this process. You see, you experience at this level a profound shift in perspective. Okay, the entire situation is recontextualized. So the spiritual forgiveness is about seeing the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture? You see that your father was part of an abuse system himself. You see that he was hurt and abused. That's why he abused and he hurt you. All of a sudden, the perspective changes. And so whereas you personalized your hurt and your resentment, you now see a larger picture. And that the person who hurt you is also part of a great charade in his life. See? So you align yourself with the flow of life, and you open up yourself to greater peace and joy and abundance and so on. So the person who hurt you was operating and coming from his own level of consciousness. You see? So you now can have compassion for his journey. And that is when you get to a different level, a higher level, I call it, when you see the bigger picture. So that you're actually beginning to have compassion for the person who destroyed you. And you say, no, I understand. That is a level that you go to, not just on your own, it's not purely psychological. It is a psycho-spiritual level in a sense where I call it the grace of God carries you there so that you begin to see it. All of a sudden you understand in a sense and feel the compassion for why your father behaved the way he did or why your mother behaved the way he did. For example, there's this gentleman who has done well in life and so on, but his mother, when he was told, he grew up in the orphan home, and when he was told that his mother had left him on a barrel, and it's on that barrel that somebody found him and took him to the orphan home, and he grew up there. And his mother never came to really look for him until he had done well once. And when he had done really well, his mother came and looked for him. And he ran out. He said, I don't want you in my life. But then, for some other reason, he went to look for the mother. When he saw the condition in which the mother is living, and the mother had about 3 or 4 other children living with her and so on, he realized that the context in which he was disposed of, I use the word disposed of in a kind of an abbreviated sense, the context was really not so much his mother's fault. So he went a higher level. He actually forgave his mother for what she had done, and he began looking after his little brothers and sisters with whatever little he had, and helping them with school books and so on. So sometimes the level of spiritual forgiveness is where you see the bigger picture and where you can understand where the person was coming from. You understand the person's own pain and you understand the person's own hurt. And so we have to work a lot at getting this level. Now, we operate at different levels at different times in our lives. I think sometimes it's only when you get older you can really get to the level of spiritual forgiveness, when you understand that, God is what it is. It's not everybody's fault all the time. Sometimes it's about a whole conspiracy of things that happen in the world. And so we need to begin that process of beginning to look a little bit deep inside ourselves as to how we can do the actual forgiveness. So at the level of intellectual forgiveness, what happens in terms of benefits, we do reduce our stress and anxiety, because when we release negative thought patterns, because that's what intellectual forgiveness is, you're releasing the thought patterns that are negative. And they ride you every day, and boy, if that woman and that man, and he was a wicked man and he did this to me and so on. And when you say, I forgive you, I forgive him, you are looking at an improvement in your own mental clarity and focus. It helps you with your decision making, so you're not always trapped in your head, and you have a more positive outlook on life. So at the intellectual level, which a lot of us remain when we do a little bit of forgiveness, there are benefits for that. And at the level of the emotional part, we release, once you do that, as I shared about the lady who wrote this letter to her father, it was the releasing of toxic emotions like anger, resentment, and bitterness. You have to release that, You have to release it. And I could see sometimes even in my own life where I held such release and so on, and then you could see where the chronic disease came from. Now, no doctor will tell you that. They will always say, well, your cholesterol level high, or you're born with it, or you inherited this, and that is just. But there's a big connection between your emotional state of anger, resentment, and bitterness and illness. And I'm not making this up. This is documented all over the place. You could just AI it and you will see for yourself. Okay. So also when you do your emotional forgiving from the heart, maybe there's a healing that happens and a resilience that builds in you. You improve your relationships and your communication. You feel free to laugh and free to talk and free to share. You feel empathy and compassion for others, which is a critical way of getting along in this world. And your own self-esteem goes up. Your own self-esteem and your self-worth goes up. So when people come to me, I say, let's go back a little bit, and let's look deep inside and let's try and figure out, where some of this anger, this pain is coming from. Because unless we get there sometimes, it is not released. And the level of spiritual forgiveness is, it's a deepening of your connection to yourself and to others. You begin to feel a little more joy, a little more love in your life. Can you imagine, you're working with, you have a spouse, you have a partner, and you're holding resentment. You realize how the tension flows all the time in the relationship. And once you release that resentment, how the tension disappears, and people are natural and wonderful with each other and so on. They're not, hoping that she don't say that or he don't say that, and wondering if I go home, if she'll be angry, if she'll not be angry, if he'll be angry if I say this, All that kind of inner tension is because one is not at the level of forgiveness, and one is holding the resentment and the bitterness inside. So I'll pause there to give us a chance to respond and to share a little bit on the question of forgiveness. The next week, I want to talk about premature forgiveness. When prematurely we have a tendency to rush the forgiveness, and what that does to us, does to our bodies and our minds.
All right. So people, you can call us now at 281-1315. That's 2811315. Talking forgiveness this morning. And I see we have a call coming in, so you're going to take it one time. Good morning to you, caller.
A blessed good morning to you, Sir Charles and Mr. Williams. You hit the nail on the head.
Mm-hmm.
You hit the nail on the head. That is so correct, so right. Stress also causes sickness, yes, because when you take on what people saying and sometimes it's your own family,
Yeah,
and
always.
they take it on, and then when you're done, your pressure high, you start to eat all kind of wrong food, you start to get diabetes, you end up in hospital, and you lying down there with a set of cord all kind of thing hook up on you, and them good like normal like nobody business. But then again, and next thing too, who in the kitchen does feel the heat? I can testify to that. I walk away from it. I walk away too much thing going on home in the house, and there's a house where family I grew up from baby, from birth, and I had to move up because why? It's because of too much conflict. I said, and that is not me. My mother was never like that. May her soul rest in peace. She was never that kind of person, and we grew up. We never. I said, I good. I walk away, and I am good with myself.
Beautiful.
I forgive the person everything, but them had their own issue to deal with. I ain't say going on that road. I would just say my prayers and I leave that to God. Because at the end of the day, when you hold on to anger, to hate, if God has blessings for you, you lost our blessings. And I tell people try and focus on God, because if you go to focus on man or woman or child, you lose your blessings where you're supposed to get. You understand? In this life, people have to kind of step back and look. Because at the end of the day, you're in a household. It has some people who can't move because it all depends their situation too. If you're in a situation where they could help yourself and they could move their place, even if you had to go and rent, all well and good. And then have some situation, it's like you're back against the wall. You look left, you look right, it's like, oh my God, the whole world against you. But to the people who are going through that, I will continue to pray and ask God to show a way. You come like in a dark tunnel, but once you see the light, you're going towards the light because you know you're going out there. It's not easy. Mr. Williams and Sir Charles, thank you all so much. This is so educational to people, let people know what it is. You could have people really going through that. But from a person who was in the kitchen who was feeling the heat, I said, time to get out.
Yeah.
And if the opportunity arise that if you get out. But when you're leaving, don't leave with anger. That's all I can tell you. For me, I ain't leave with anger. I leave because I reached out to myself to know that here what's going on. You see me? I know I had was to leave, but I did not leave with anger. That's one thing. If you're leaving, please don't leave with anger. Don't be angry and to leave and you're angry. That don't make sense. It don't make sense to leaving a place and you're angry. That didn't make sense. When you leave with a clear mind, a clear conscience, pray to the Almighty and He just give guidance. So Sir Charles and Mr. William, great program as usual.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you very much for sharing that with us. She said leaving, but don't leave angry, don't leave bitter. And like everything else, I mean, we talk all these things, it's a lot of self-growth, It's not like it's not like an overnight thing, because sometimes it's like your mind that you're trying to concentrate on something, it strays, and then you have to pull it back,
that is so true.
With some of these things, it's like habits, and it's inside of you, and in trying to work it out, sometimes you fall right back into it, but you have to keep trying again.
To keep trying.
Until you're already strong enough to look back at it and say, yeah, I passed that. I passed through that. So what's up? Good morning.
Hi, folks. Interesting program. Can I give my own take on that forgiveness thing?
Yes, please.
Right. Well, I think I have good reasons to have been upset with many people who dealt me badly, and I think many people may have had good reason to be upset with me. Right? So, see, I think how I dealt with that. So, see, I never forgave somebody who didn't seek that from me. Right? But what I did is analyze how I got myself in that predicament, how I end up trusting people I should not have. And I saw it as my own character flaw for not being able to discern it better. So when I figured it out properly, I forgave myself for being ignorant then I move on from it. No anger, no hate, because I consider myself better for the experience and having a better judgment of character and people.
Well said.
So I forgive me, and I got peace with that. I ain't going out there and trying to forgive nobody who didn't seek it first. I'm not trying to be friendly with anybody who I know doing harm without they coming to that realization too, that what they're doing isn't good. It's infringing on the rights of others, and therefore you need to modify your behavior. No forgiveness for you until you fix you. But after fix me, I take responsibility for that. I'll fix me, improve me, and forgive me for being done in the past. That's how I look at it. Anyhow, I'm going.
Yeah, well, that is not Mr. Hooter, but it's a very interesting way of looking at it. If they never, because people do all manner of stuff, and if they come to you and they seek your forgiveness or ask you, I have seen people who have not seen, I have experienced people who have done me all manner of stuff, and it's like I either do it to you.
Yeah. Yes.
And and they walk around you, and they tend to want to treat you in the worst of ways, like if it's you that do them something, when it's they that do.
That's what putting it.
Right. So if you, so I can understand what Mr. Hooter was talking about. If you never seek forgiveness from me, so I don't have forgiveness to give you. Just so I was understand.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep. You see, it's a little bit tough for relationships, when people are living in a house together. You're not going to get it right all the time. Where it gets easy, and from what he was saying, is that when you can look at yourself first and just realize, well, hey, I really kind of mess up. Not in the sense that bad, but you see, I didn't know better. That's a nice way of putting it. I didn't know better at the time. And because I didn't know better at the time, and I now know better now, I can forgive myself for my behavior, my attitude, and the way I dealt with matters before, which is an excellent way of looking at it, because we all learn as we grow. We don't start off with a full book of knowledge in our heads, And so sometimes it is difficult when people's egos are too large, that they can't be vulnerable enough to say, I'm really sorry about that. I should have done it a little bit differently. Now that I think about it, my reaction was an overreaction. People don't say that. And in the bigger issues, like, infidelity and so on, there's a larger reason why somebody would choose or may have a problem with you. And then they say, well, let's talk about the problem with me, what's causing that? Let's look deeper. We tend not to do that. We always blame an outside party. We blame all kinds of things and so on. So it really involves all the time the inner search, the inner look at self, and the forgiving of the inner self. That's what forgiveness is about. Yeah.
We have a caller there. Caller, good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning, Sir Charles.
Good morning, Junior.
Good morning, Mr. Steve.
Yes.
Interesting topic, Sir Charles. And forgiveness is something important in life, because just as how we would like people to forgive us, we also need to forgive persons too, or individuals. Life, there are different circumstances and different situations that from time to time, we as individuals, we may find ourselves in. And as the Turkish say, sometimes we need to forgive. We need to forgive others, and sometimes we do it for the other person as well as yourself.
Yes.
Because even the scriptures here, the scriptures even go a little further to process into that. If your brother has out against you, and not you, but if your brother has out against you, you need to go on, you know. And his life, and I guess based on the again the hurt and the stage you at in life, right? You would understand, because now you talk about forgiveness, because now you see many people are sick today because they refuse to forgive.
Yes.
Right? Many people I mean don't connect sickness with unforgiveness. Right? Bitterness, because you end up getting bitter, and you don't want to relieve. Sometimes you don't want to relieve the person, and yes, you could be justified in that person. So again, so if a person rape you, why would you want to forgive that person? You know.
Yes.
As you say, Mr. Steve, as you say, and as you say, and it's not something. As you, I don't know, you allude to the person that would just would say, well, I forgive you, and then really go to the process. Then let's say from a reactive, and then there are some people, they are suffering, right? So again, you allow yourself healing process, and don't feel, and a lot of people don't feel bad if you're all right. So like in the case of somebody do you something, right? You know, the Christian philosophy is to forgive them one time as Christ forgive. But you know what? Don't feel bad, because you are going through a process. Remember, you is the one that is feeling it. You is the one. So you now would have to go through the process of working that out. Right? And in the process of working it out, you might say, but wait. Because in some people, not forgiving other people, you give them power over you. In some instances, the persons or the individual, they go about living their life, and you stuck in a time warp, and you can't catch yourself from whatever event or whatever may have happened to you. So again, good conversation, Mr. Steve. Right? We are living in our world, and we have become so selfish, so self-centered, right? And I mean, sometimes we could release people to, you know, right? If you're battling with it, again, seek professional help, right? Because again, it's something that may be rooted for you. Right, because as Mr. Steve, one of the things that I can remember with my father, one of the things that I pray is that I will have no ill will, or no resentment towards him. Right? So even on his undying bed, I could have go and I could have had conversation, and I mean, for me, I thank God, because, you know, I mean, I think I had a reason to be the top, but I didn't allow that. I didn't want to, and one of the reasons why I didn't want to live in a resentment and had a bitterness, because you know what, I had to live in spite of what I choose to live.
Yeah.
Right. So I will leave it there. Look to listening. So Charles, blessing.
Okay, Junior, thank you so much. Yeah. Well, I think that's a good way for us to leave it there for.
Yeah, we can stop there now. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
you know, we had a pretty good response to what was taking place, and you know, things that we can really focus on and think a little bit in improving self, because all this is about self,
Yeah, bottom line. Yeah.
About improving self. So, Steve, thank you very much. Tell people how to get in contact with you.
Okay, and so we are situated in Cascade. Our building is there, 36 Cascade Road, Cascade, and we can be contacted at our email address, which is foundationhd@gmail.com. And you can WhatsApp us your messages or issues at 482-6500.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And God's willing, we'll do it all over again next week,
God willing,
Wednesday.
God willing. Yep.
All right.
Wally week. Right too.
For real.
Okay.
All right, people, this has been On the Inside with Steve Williams, courtesy of the Foundation for Human Development.
My bosom fed you my oil. And even when you took and wasted and left me drained, there was always love for you in my soil. Even when my older children, they tried to shame me, setting no rules for the younger ones, bringing such grief and sadness into my household. In the end, they're still my daughters and sons. I will always be there for you. No matter what you do, whatever joy or pain that you are going through, I will always be there for you. I will be always there for you.